Death Star, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Well, it's going to be another one of those episodes where we step back and go, wow, we should have watched something else. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. It's just not a lot of news, right?
Not a lot of news, but, you know.
There's some news.
There's craziness, yeah.
There's craziness. And you know, we would like to start by expressing our sadness at the hearing of the passing of Carl Weathers.
Yes.
Man, that one, another one of those absolute shockers, right? Because, and then when you read about it, you're like, wow, this is even more of a shocker because it doesn't seem like there was anything really going on that would have brought this on.
Right. Yeah.
Just a sudden passing in your sleep kind of deal, you know, like
out of nowhere.
One of those that, you know, reminds us of our mortality, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But Carl Weathers, man, great. One of the greats, right? And I've always, when he was announced for Star Wars, I talked about like how awesome it was that he was coming because he is one of the great supporting actors.
Yes. We talked about this, right? When we, you know, heard about him being in the cast of The Mandalorian, and you know, he did not disappoint with the role he played there. So, yeah.
No, and I mean, think of like we look at all the movies where we remember Carl Weathers from. You know, Rocky, Predator.
Yep.
You know, Happy Gilmore.
Right.
You know, now The Mandalorian with what he's done in The Mandalorian, not a movie, but feels like it.
Right.
And he's just that guy that props you up.
Yeah.
He's always been able to just come in and do that. You know, he big presence, supporting actor. It's crazy.
Yeah. Definitely crazy. It's you know, it's a shock. It's you know, I you know, again, you know, I hate to be like this because you feel for, you know, his family and everything, you know, but you know, as a fan of the project that he's been involved with, you start to wonder. It's like, okay, so now what are we gonna do here? You know, so
right.
It's so I've got to ask. I already have a feeling I know what you're gonna say. You're in Favreau and Filoni's shoes. What do you do?
I mean, honestly, if it's me,
yep.
I'm never a fan of just letting a story go.
Right.
This is a tough one though.
Yep.
This is a tough one because, you know, I might get some hate for this. I'm always a fan of recasting.
Right.
I'm always a fan of recasting, but Carl Weathers is such a big presence.
Sure. Now, and that's I'm baiting you into saying exactly that, right? Because I want to ask you, okay, who do you go with?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, come on. I was hoping you'd have been thinking about this.
I never, you know what? I have not put any thought into that. I'll be completely honest.
Okay.
I have not put any thought into who I would recast.
So,
and
go ahead.
Who I would use to recast, you know, Grief Karga. I've not put any thought into it. Man, I don't know.
This is I'm going to throw an actor out there, and just get your preliminary thoughts. I could probably be easily swayed on this. This is not like a, this is who it's got to be type of thing or anything. Okay. But, and it's only because of a performance I recently rewatched him in, and I thought, well, this could work. But I'm thinking like maybe Lawrence Fishburne because of him and John Wick. And
see, I have not seen John Wick.
Oh, at all. Okay.
At all.
Okay. I don't know if it's the second or third one. I recently rewatched 1 through 3, and he plays like this character. He runs a portion of the city type of thing, of the underground or whatever it is, and
I'd say this. I'm out. I know you're going to explain this, and you can go ahead, but I am out on that casting, and I'll tell you why when you're done. But go ahead.
Oh well, no, I mean, go ahead. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, without having seen the role, I thought you might have seen this role, and
I have not.
So, but it's strictly based on that, and it's only because it's like fresh in my memory. But go ahead.
Well, I'll just use a scene. Like, think of some of these scenes, and I'll go outside the Mandalorian as well, to like Happy Gilmore, and just look at some of these. He's playing a serious moment, right? Carl Weathers would be playing a serious moment, but there's a comedic delivery in there.
Sure.
I don't think Lawrence Fishburne can do that.
I think he can.
I cannot think of an instance where I've seen it. Maybe he does it in John Wick. I don't know.
I think there's a little bit of it in there. That's why I'm.
I just can't see Lawrence Fishburne going, "Come on, do the baby hands thing." Or do the magic hand thing, like whatever he says, right? Like,
I think he could. That's funny. You look at it like his role in the Matrix and stuff, and it's like, that's like serious, where this other role is not quite, so much. And
I do want to say one thing here before we continue with this conversation.
Yeah.
Though we are talking about recasting a character, keep in mind that my stance on recasting and things like that has always been to pay homage to the original actor.
Yes.
By giving their character that they put so much effort and time and passion into, to give them a fitting story.
Right.
As opposed to just, well, they did what they did, but this character's arc just goes onto a shelf. This is how you pay homage and tribute to the person who brought this character to life, by giving that character a full story.
I agree 100%.
And I think the Princess Leia and Carrie Fisher thing solidified my stance on this 100%, because they did not do that to Princess Leia.
Right.
They gave it a really, really soft and really kind of, what's a word I would use there? It was unfitting.
Yeah.
And unbecoming of the character. It should have been so much more.
Yes.
So that's why we're talking this, and it's all about the tribute to the person who brought this character to life that we love. Like, that's, I just want to be clear on that.
Yep.
This is not a shallow, what are we going to do, right?
No, nothing like that. No. I just,
this is all about our love for what Carl Weathers did for us as Star Wars fans.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know your stance on recasting characters to, complete their story arcs. and like you said, pay homage to the original actor and stuff. So I was just kind of floating this out, seeing if you've put any thought into that yet. And it's your steadfastness in that train of thought that made me think of it, so it's I would hate for us to never see Grief Karga again in The Mandalorian. That
100% with you.
Yeah.
Like I said, this idea of just like letting it go because they're like that almost just makes it seem like these actors were invested only because it was a job,
right?
Not because they didn't believe in what they were doing or believe in a character or believe in their craft. Exactly. So I think by completing their character's arc, that's how you truly show your love and appreciation of what they did.
Right.
So I don't know yet. I will put some thought into this. I have not. I'll put some thought into who I think would be a good, and we'll bring it up on a later episode.
Okay. I like that.
Because I'll tell you what, I honestly didn't even think of that. And the main reason is because I feel like the story for The Mandalorian is a little bit in like limbo right now. Like,
oh yeah.
We don't know the way they wrapped it up. They could stop there. We are getting a movie.
Right.
But they definitely kind of put a neat little bow on where they were. So.
Right. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of path they're going to take with this movie. But again, I just feel like, Grief Karga should be in it in some capacity. And I don't want to just hear his name,
No.
And something like that, I
don't want to hear Kara's off doing this.
Exactly. Yes.
So, yeah, I don't want to hear that same kind of thing. I hate that.
Right.
I hate that. And we're going to talk about another character.
Yes.
That I feel the same way about. I feel we should have just recast, right? Like it just.
Yep.
With the choice you made. With the choice you made, you should have just recast.
Right.
But I feel that way. I always have. I don't have this, undying loyalty to a character should only be played by a specific actor.
Right. If it works out to where the actor can do the part, great. But under circumstances such as these, it's impossible. So it's you tell the story of the character. Yes, have the original actor play it if possible. If not, figure something else out, and a recasting is probably going to be the best way to go in most cases.
Yeah, and Carl Weathers is literally in the Disney era of Star Wars. His casting, it was the most excited I've been about a casting, period.
Yeah.
I mean, when they announced him in The Mandalorian, I was ecstatic.
I got to tell you, for me, he's really, off the top of my head, he's really like the only guy that was familiar with their work. You know what I'm saying? I really was not that familiar with what Pedro Pascal had done. And, I guess I had to be told what movies, Gina Carano was in and stuff. And, it was like.
And I'm saying just in general, like not just The Mandalorian, of all the castings they've done.
Sure. Yes.
Of everything they've done in the Disney era, every announcement they've made, Carl Weathers was the one I was excited for most.
Sure.
It was definitely my favorite casting.
But you know his prior bodies of work and how, integral he was in, those films. I mean, Rocky is just not Rocky without him. I mean, it's just not going to work without him,
Right.
that sort of thing. It's, I don't know.
And when I was at Celebration, right?
Yeah.
That was the panel that I had to go to. Was the Mandalorian panel.
Right.
And the main draw for me when I was going to that panel was, dude, Carl Weathers is supposed to be there.
Right.
So, yeah, I look back at that, I was like, I was in the same room as Carl Weathers. I love that guy. That guy is, like I said, by far one of my favorite supporting actors of all time.
Right.
He just, he's good. He's good. And like Predator, right? That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're loving this guy, and then you're angry with this guy, and then you're like, oh no, that guy's gonna die. It's like,
yep.
That guy took you on a roller coaster ride.
Right.
So, yeah, just a huge loss.
Huge loss. Yes.
And that one I was like, normally with like big names you're like, oh, that sucks.
Right.
That one I was like, man, that really sucked. Crystal Ann sent me the article. I didn't even see it first. She saw it first. She sent it to me, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what the future holds for Grief Karga. Hopefully they do right by Carl Weathers, because man, we were so lucky to have him in Star Wars.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
All right. So wow, I just kind of looked down. This is kind of going to be a Mandalorian themed episode.
Oh, yes it is.
Look at that.
Uh-huh.
Look at that. There's not even a Mandalorian show coming.
I know.
Gina Carano.
Yep.
The Gina Carano Disney fight is not. Wow, that's weird when you try to say Gina Carano and Disney at the same time. People will think you're talking about Harry Potter.
What?
Ginny.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
I forgot you're not much of a Harry Potter fan.
No.
But yeah, Gina Carano and Disney, the fight's not over.
It's just beginning, Joe.
Oh no, it's not just beginning. This is like round 3, right?
Well, okay, but I got a feeling that the climax of this one is yet to come.
Yeah, it's definitely going to heat up. Whenever you get courts involved.
Right.
So, what we're talking about, Gina Carano is filing suit. Well, let's rephrase that. X, on behalf of Gina Carano, is filing suit.
Right.
For, man, what was the actual wording here? It was discrimination and like unlawful termination kind of stuff, right?
Right. Where is it? This.
Yes, discrimination and wrongful termination.
Okay.
So a very, it's not stuff you really hear about when you're talking to actors. When was the last time you heard a wrongful termination suit with Hollywood?
I can't say that I've heard, recall one in my recent memory here, but
Such a blue collar suit.
yeah. Which kind of, I don't know, that kind of, in some weird way, that makes sense in my brain a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But
What, that is a blue collar suit?
Yep.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's not one you hear about when you get to a certain pay grade.
right. But I look at somebody like Gina Carano as someone who has, quote unquote, put in the work to get where she was, and then, not necessarily, towing the company line, I guess you could say, and then,
Right.
That's.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this personally. Like, this is my take.
Yep.
Just on that wording alone, I don't think she's going to win on the wrongful termination side of things.
Okay.
Mainly because you are in a job that the public perception of said job is very important. And that public perception is shaped by the company you're working for because they're trying to promote a product in the public light. So if you are doing something in that public light that is going to hurt said promotion, this could affect your employment. It's just like if you're doing anything at your job that would hinder production, you could lose your job. So I think on the wrongful termination side, she doesn't have a case. I think she has a case on the discrimination side.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from with that, because, the first place my brain is going to is, coworkers of hers that were doing similar things without repercussion. And
that's the discrimination part.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just wonder if, man.
Because, like, when I emphasize that discrimination, one's on one side of the political discrimination is a thing.
Yes.
Okay. So, whether you go, gender, sex, whatever discrimination, or political discrimination, any of those discrimination falls in.
Right.
So they allowed it over here.
Yep.
They didn't allow it over here. Now, one was aligned a certain way, the other was aligned a different way.
Yep.
So, that's where I think the case lies. Like I said, the wrongful termination, the problem, well, I guess the problem is Disney's acting like they don't have a political agenda.
Well, that's the issue, right? Because if they would have said, if they would have come out and said, even after all of this happened, okay, and we've all talked about, what happened to get her fired. Even after all of that, if Disney would have come out and said, you know what, we don't see a story arc moving forward for Cara Dune. Okay, well then I guess you're not going into work anymore because there's no story for you anymore. That's a completely different ballgame, because some things were said, tweeted, whatever, and they didn't like it. They didn't like the way a certain part of the fan base responded to it. That was basically the reason. And, that what is it? Let's see. I think the quote is, Gina Carano is not currently employed with Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. That's pretty much outlining why you got rid of her. So, it was the social media posts. You know, it's
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah.
Like I said, I don't think the social media posts and her being terminated for the social media posts fall in the wrongful termination category. I don't think it does because, like I said, they live in that realm. Their business is so dependent on that realm. They can make a case for that.
Sure. They could make a case for it, but I have a hard time with some of the stances that were taken at the time.
Right, and that's why it said that. That's where the discrimination comes in. That's where that works. She's got a case. Yes, and I'm even referring to some of the hurdles they were making her jump, and hoops jumping through to retain her position if it would have even happened. I don't even know, because some of the things that were talked about were her being on a Zoom call with 40 some people, just to be, what's the word? I don't know. Just to basically take a verbal beating from them because they didn't like her posts. You know what I'm saying? Right. I understand that part of it, but like I said, let me say this. If I'm in charge over there, right? Yep. And just a fair warning to everybody, language incoming. If I'm in charge over there and I'm seeing this engagement from my employees on social media over these hot button topics, yep, and I'm trying to promote a show, I am going to pull them in. All of them. All of them. That's right. And that's, like I said, this is where the discrimination comes in. But I'm pulling Pedro in. I'm pulling Gina in. Yep. And I'm saying, look, shut the fuck up. Right. We got a show to sell. Exactly. If you don't listen, if you don't like it, you don't want to do it, you're out. Right. But shut up. Yeah. So that's the way I take it. That right there, you've just made a case for, and employees have dealt with this through employment at every company everywhere. Okay. We've all been a part of it where, somebody does something against a policy or something. Everybody gets a talking to, everybody gets told about it, and everyone acts like, well, why am I being punished? I didn't do it, But it's that right there is a valid reason why, why everyone would get pulled in. Yes. That I understand. To not do it that way in this case, it's, you have to question why, Because it's discrimination. Yes. Plain and simple. I'm sorry. You can't take the comparisons, like the most egregious versus the most egregious. You can't take the comparisons and not say they're not the same. Right. Right. They're the same. They're just on different sides of the spectrum.
Exactly.
So, and I'm sorry, from a business standpoint, if I'm Disney, I don't like either one.
Exactly. You shouldn't.
Because that side's dollars spend just as good as that side's dollars.
Exactly.
And I want all the dollars.
Yes. As a business, you should. You should want all the dollars, and you should want to stay as neutral on these topics as possible. But that's not where we are in society today.
No, and you know what? And the ones that come out and say like, "Oh, I'd be fine by not getting the dollars from it." No, you're full of shit.
Yes.
Okay, you are saying that in a political light to just make sure you get more dollars from that side.
Right.
They don't care about you.
Right.
I'm never going to sit back and believe that Disney gives a crap about any issue I'm dealing with. They can say it all they want.
I can guarantee you they don't.
They don't. They don't. Not one bit.
Exactly.
No business does when it comes to business. Okay? And they shouldn't. The business should be about selling the product.
Yes.
Okay? And staying out of whatever crap is going on elsewhere. Either way, you should be 100% about your product.
Yes. Agreed.
If you're in business to make movies about Space Wars, it should be about Space Wars.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
And look, I don't care about what influence you draw from real events to feed your stories on those Space Wars, because you know what? A lot of times it's good topics for stories for making a war.
We've talked about that. You and I have talked about that. When that is done correctly, okay, both sides of the spectrum can look at your story and relate to it, okay? And that's the way it should be. We've had these discussions, right? Where if you wanted to relate it to politics, it was, the other side's person is Darth Vader and, whatever. And both sides could see it that way, and that's the way it should be. If you're going to do it right, that's the right way. I mean, that's just telling a good story, because people from every walk of life can relate to it then. And, there's too much of this. If you don't see it my way, you're wrong going on, that it's like, I just, when it comes to the story, I've said it a million times. I'm all about story. I just want to sit back and have a good story experience with Star Wars, because that's what it always was, And we talked about the recasting. You even mentioned that you feel like she should have been recast when they let her go. I feel like her dismissal was a detriment to the storytelling of The Mandalorian. So I think ultimately, because of all this mess, the biggest losers were us, the fan base.
Yeah, and not necessarily because Gina Carano didn't return, right? And I'll emphasize that. If you bring in someone else that can play that role and play it well, then it's fine.
Yeah,
from a storytelling perspective.
I will agree with you on that.
This idea that you had to wash away her existence because of but like the fact that Cara Dune was going to be forever associated with Gina Carano and her
Right.
mean tweets.
Yes.
I'm just like, get over yourselves.
Exactly.
And tell me the story of Cara Dune. I don't care if it's with Gina Carano or someone else that could play it well.
Exactly. You know, the whole Rangers of the New Republic thing was supposedly going to be.
That was just a cover up because they can't make a damn show.
I don't know about that. I mean, so, but here's the thing: if Cara Dune never returned to the Mandalorian from the point which she didn't, but Rangers of the New Republic came out with the character Cara Dune, played by someone else, telling an excellent Star Wars story. Okay, I mean, great, but no, it went as far as for a time anyway, she was to be on a episode of Bear Grylls, right? And
yeah, they went so far as to eliminate her name from all promotional material.
Exactly, and delayed airing the episode she's on for some time. So it's like, let's. It's. I don't know. It feels like a step too far to me. You know what I'm saying? I just, So okay, let's get into the other part of this now. Okay. This is the backing of one Elon Musk in this suit.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts here?
Well, I'll say this: he's sticking to his guns. You're saying that your company X,
yep,
is going to be a promoter of free speech,
right?
And then you're going to take your legal assets and back someone who lost their job for posting on your platform. Damn, I'd say you're backing your story up. You're definitely standing for free speech.
Putting your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still, like I said, I still don't think you have a case for wrongful termination, but because I am a proponent of free speech, but that doesn't mean that free speech does not come without consequences.
Sure.
Okay. I'm all for Gina Carano's right to say what she wanted to say.
Yep.
But to think that, like I said, in your job that is in the public light the way it is, to think that your free speech is not going to come with consequences is a mistake. It's a mistake to think that way. There is a time and a place for all free speech.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say all free speech, all speech, right?
Right.
And there are some arenas where you don't voice certain things not because you shouldn't say it, but because you shouldn't say it right there.
Okay.
Because, like, the one thing that gets lost in free speech, right, is that you can say whatever you want no matter what. And that's wrong. That's not how free speech, it's not how it works. That's how it works when you're talking about our government. Okay?
Yeah.
Our government needs to stay the hell out of it. That's the idea behind the whole First Amendment thing and all that.
Yeah.
You can say what you want. But when it comes to other people and other people's right to live their lives, the comparison of you have a right to swing your fist wherever. It's when it contacts someone else's face that is a problem.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same goes for speech.
Yeah.
Now, that's not excusing the general terminology of like hurtful speech now. No, hurtful speech now is so ridiculously subjective
Right.
that it just has no merit to me. This idea that that this is like damaging to someone, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
You didn't like it, argue your point, move on.
Right.
You know, and look, I'm a guy who loves to argue.
Sure.
It's one of my favorite things to do. It's my favorite pastime, right? Like,
Right. Trust me, I know.
I start arguments for the hell of it, right? Like,
Exactly.
I mean, you've witnessed this firsthand. Well, I will argue on the side of something I totally don't agree with,
Yes.
but I just couldn't help myself. There was an opening for an argument. I just went for it.
Right.
And the problem is that I can usually make a pretty good argument for the other side, the side I don't believe in.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's like I said. But the problem here is that and just to circle back to my point, the problem is where that fist landed for Gina Carano was on Disney. Okay, it was on Disney's bottom line.
I think that was more perceived than actual.
Yeah, but perceived in a business perspective when you're talking promotion is as good as done.
Okay.
Because when you're talking promotion and you're in a promotional run, any perceived damage is, you know, you're looking to the future with your promotions. So that's all you're looking at with promotions. You're investing to hope to get a certain result.
Sure.
And any perceived damage to that result is in that moment actual damage. So,
Well, I would disagree that it perceived as actual damage because it was certainly not realized, and I think there was more damage done to the franchise with the steps that were taken personally.
well, yeah, I mean,
So-
and the simple solution to that is you fire the guy that's in the helmet anyway, as well.
Right? Yes. Absolutely. If they'd have done that, hey, there's no argument from me, for sure.
They would have had a hell of a lot less fallout
Exactly.
because they're like, look, this when we're in promotion, you can't be doing this crap.
Right.
End of story.
Yep. No. So the one point I wanted to bring up as far as the backing of Elon Musk here is when if Gina was going to bring a case like this against Disney at any point up until we hear this backing by Elon Musk, I say she hasn't got a chance for anything to happen. Okay, there is no way she's even getting them to blink an eye. Okay, we all know how huge Disney is, and they are, they've probably got a team of lawyers on staff that could just make this go away in half a day. Okay. And
It wouldn't be. It would be a perceived half a day. It would be probably a couple years.
No, whatever. You get what I'm saying, though.
But they would drag this out to the point where you can't afford it anymore.
Exactly. Now, knowing that Gina Carano may have a leg to stand on financially for this case, I have a feeling we may see some sort of a settlement reached, probably before it even goes before a judge or a magistrate or whoever it might go before. Worked out between lawyers, and I'm not saying she gets her job back or what it might be. I'm not even going to try and predict any of that.
Oh, she's absolutely not going to get her job back.
Like I said, I'm not predicting either way, but I can see some sort of a settlement being reached probably sooner rather than later in the grand scheme of things. Like you said, most of the time they would drag it out for as long as it took, years. But this is going to be a blow to Disney at a time when they've been taking them on the chin left and right. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes,
it's not a good time to be a Disney exec. You know, you've had movies not performing as well as you would hope they would, and then all of a sudden, boom, here's this. Oh, and by the way, if we're just going to try and use the drag it out as long as it takes method, that could take a whole lot longer and cost us a lot more money than it normally does now. So,
well, I mean, at least for this is going to be funny to say, but I mean, Disney's already reached a point where, you know, they're just going as far back as 2019, right? So, like right now, The Little Mermaid was a success because they're only looking as far back as 2019. So,
right.
You know, once you have so many failures in a row, and I say failure, but I mean, I guess it is a failure. But when you have so many of those blows in a row, the ones that do at least okay, they seem really great.
Yeah.
So they're going to derail their hey, look, we're a success again, even though we're going to not look at anything that happened before 2019.
Sure.
You know, when everything was measured in hundreds of billions.
Right.
Not just, you know, tens of billions.
Yeah. Well, that's, I get what you're saying, but I think this is just, you can look at it as like a bad time for them to have to deal with this, or a perfect time for them to have to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? So it's whichever way you want to look at it, but it's I think it was going to take something like this financial backing for this case in order to actually make it a big deal. I don't think I don't think she would have even ever tried without something like Musk's backing.
I think she's smart enough to know that she is not alone in the position to go toe to toe with Disney.
Right.
You know, I mean, hell, even her agent company or whatever it was.
Right.
Even they bailed on her. They didn't want to hurt their stock with Disney, you know, like
that's what that boils down to. I mean, there's no question about that. It's like you have other clients who you'd like to have work for Disney, and that's it's got to be a preemptive move to say, look, you guys got rid of her. Okay, we're going to get rid of her too. Look at our other clients. You know, I mean, it's whether.
Oh, and I'm sure Disney's going to want a conclusion here because I'm sure there's other things that could be drug up in this whole process.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I'm sure there's things about strong arming this or, you know, influencing that, you know, like.
Yes.
I'm sure that
I am right there with you. I'm sure there were things that were said that they really don't want to get out to the public. Yes.
You know, and coming right off a moment where you had this big strike and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Where the rights of the actors is supposed to be considered.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, hell of a time for her to file suit.
Yeah.
Like, it was smart.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at with the, you know, worst time or best time, you know, for this to be happening. It's all in your perspective and how you're looking at it.
Oh, worst time for Disney, without a doubt.
For sure.
Worst time. You know, and like you kind of mentioned, I mean, Disney's back's against the wall right now. You know, look at the moves they're making in the streaming thing, because that didn't work out the way it was intended.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think there's a whole lot of other decisions there that kind of played into that.
Yep.
You know, as someone didn't math good.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so you told me a Bob Iger quote that someone asked him about this case.
Oh yeah, CNBC asked Bob Iger what his thoughts were on Musk backing this suit and potentially others like it against his company. So, like, not only just the Gina Carano suit, but like since this can of worms is being opened,
Right.
There's potential for more. And Bob Iger flatly said, none. He's got no comment.
No comment. No thoughts on it. I would have to say that's a lawyered up answer,
Oh yeah, like this is a guy who has experience in the legal realm.
Oh yeah, totally. Yes.
Like,
yeah, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah, I have no comment on pending litigation.
Exactly. So we have to, with this going on, we have to take a little bit of a look here at Elon Musk, because he is, I think we all know by now, he is like what'd you call him, the like biggest troll around right now, something like that.
Yeah, he's in heavy troll mode.
Yeah. So, I mean, we remember it wasn't that long ago, in reference to Disney pulling advertising from X, and he was asked about, his thoughts on that, and
what's he got to say to advertisers don't want to?
Right, yeah. And edited version was, go F yourselves. So.
Oh, I was really hoping you were just going to say it.
Oh, no, you know me.
I know.
So,
always PC that does.
You're so funny. So, right along, staying true to what he's been doing.
Oh, let's not forget the hi, Bob.
Oh yeah, hi, Bob. Exactly.
If you're out there.
Yeah. Directing it right to Bob Iger. It's funny.
Which this was only like 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh yeah, it was not that long ago. So
these lawyer conversations were definitely happening then.
Absolutely. And then, okay, so recently, it looks like February 4th. Okay. So Elon Musk is attending the premiere of the film Lola. And he's asked, what brought him there? And his reply is, I'm just here with friends, thinking about what companies to acquire. And then he walks off, which is to it's funny in this article, the comment here is, while he doesn't make any direct comments regarding the House of Mouse, it's an easy insinuation, primarily because the man he was seen with at the premiere, Nelson Peltz. So, that guy is a noted billionaire and businessman. Peltz has most recently been in the news for wanting to make significant changes to the Walt Disney Company's board, specifically starting the, quote, Restore the Magic, quote, campaign to fix issues he sees with the company's recent projects and statements through the shareholders. This has resulted in a mostly negative public response, although he has some incredibly vocal supporters. So they're making a leap there, but I think Elon knows that is the leap they were going to make, as far as assuming he's looking at companies to acquire being possibly Disney. So leave it to Elon to just keep stirring that pot. I gotta say, in a lot of ways, I love it because it's just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This whole thing, I don't know. We'll sit back. We'll watch it all play out, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I honestly feel like in her heart of hearts, Gina Carano would love for things to go back to the way they were, working on The Mandalorian, and she probably loved the crew she was working with, right? Everyone on the set, Dave and John and, sad to say, Carl, I mean, everybody there, she probably loved it. I don't ever recall hearing any of them having anything bad to say about her on the set, So I gotta be honest, I am with you and don't see her returning to the show. But I got a feeling there's going to be some sort of settlement, that'll... with Elon behind this, I'm not so sure that Disney's going to get away with making a settlement with an NDA attached to it, because
correct.
That's an Elon thing,
And I'll say this, like, the other side of the, and not the other side from me, but the other side from Gina Carano on this, you see him on Twitter or X, sorry.
Yeah.
It's old habits.
Yeah.
But you see him on X right now. Like, she has no leg to stand on. She was given every chance to retract her statements and apologize and things like that. Yes, you're right.
To a degree.
You're right. Well, she was totally given the opportunity, and it's well documented that she was to attend this meeting, issue a retraction and an apology. That was all out there in the in the release, right? That she was given these opportunities, and they're absolutely right. It is said that those opportunities were given, and she chose not to. That's fine. Keep in mind, though, she chose not to. She lost her job. That's where, like I said, the wrongful termination thing is dismissed, but the discrimination thing is still there.
But I will say, and I think you're probably correct in how this is going to play out. I will say, if I were in her shoes, I'd probably make the same decision, because a struggle session is not necessarily an opportunity. I mean, you gotta stand up for what you are going to stand for. You know what I mean? It's like, so
I'll tell you what, though.
What's that?
I'm going to make a statement here that is going to ruffle some feathers.
Okay.
But, for that other side, this anti-billionaire, anti-corruption, about money for everything side.
Yeah.
It's really weird that you're telling her to cow her beliefs, shut up, agree, and take the money.
Who's saying that?
Well, the other side. Like, if she would have just retracted, something that she obviously doesn't believe.
Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha.
Issued an apology, obviously something she doesn't believe.
Right.
And just take the money, she'd be all right.
Yeah, well, that's what
the anti-money side wants.
Well, shut up and agree with us. Yes.
Yeah, and take the money.
Yes, sure.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
So the anti-corporatism people are saying you should just toe the corporate line? Weird.
It is upside down world now, Joe.
Oh man, sure. Y'all were like the smoke weed and peace, love, and happiness people a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Oh man.
Yes.
Fight the man.
Yeah.
Live in a field and smell like shit. Like.
I love it.
Yep. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll take the licks.
It will be interesting to see where this goes, and how it plays into future Star Wars. I don't know if it's going to have much effect, but it'll at least be interesting to see how it affects Disney as a company. Because if this is just the beginning of, Elon has put it out there, anyone else need help? I'm here, kind of thing. So we'll see if this starts something.
Hey, just talking to those corporatists for, those anti-corporatists for a minit,
Right. That said, take the money. Yeah.
Yeah, that said, take the money. We should all be happy, though. Because we get to sit back and watch the billionaires go to war with each other.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And you know who wins in all this? The lawyers. So
yeah.
That's for sure.
Nothing scummy about those guys.
Nope. So, all this Mandalorian talk, is there any good news?
Nope.
Yes, there is. Come on.
I mean, what is it? They're presumably going to do something?
Yes. All right. So, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, we have a start date for shooting. So, it is supposedly going to start shooting on June 17th of this year in LA.
Wow, awfully specific.
That is according to productionlist.com, which is, is run by the Film and Television Film Alliance. So it's basically like, the rundown of when all these productions are getting going and all that. So the film will be directed by Jon Favreau, of course, and produced by Jon Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni. So there we have it.
Oh, with that lineup, I'd say it's going to happen.
Yeah. So.
No, that's it. That's exciting. Like,
with everything we've talked about in this show, you got to wonder how this is going to move forward. I mean, who knows? This story could be a completely different side story, something separate from the series.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because the two things we talked about prior on this very episode could derail that very date.
Yes, exactly. So,
I mean, probably wouldn't derail that very date. You could probably start shooting.
Right.
And still not have an idea of what you're going to do about some things.
Right.
But it could definitely delay any prior proposed schedule deadline.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, hey, I'm excited for the show or the film.
Right.
Gotta correct myself. The film.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we'll finally get to learn something about the Mandalorian.
What do you mean there's going to be a Star Wars movie? Yeah, hopefully you're right. We can learn something about him. Get some backstory. Get some current,
It'd be about damn time. If 3 seasons couldn't do it, maybe a movie will.
Right. Yeah, we'll see.
But I just wonder whose story they're going to tell in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
One or the other, or both.
Boba Fett.
Both. Exactly. Oh.
No, I got it. Clone Captain Rex.
Oh my. Stop it. Yeah.
No, he's got to be dead by then.
You would think. So, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just funny to me. Little irony in there, I guess, that, it's kind of like a happy thing for us Star Wars fans. Good news, they're going to start shooting this movie. Looks like it's, production's actually going to start on a Star Wars movie here, which we've been told lots of those are going to, and they haven't. And
yeah, that is an amazing relief, right? I cannot wait. Cannot wait to go back to the theater.
Sure, absolutely.
And see a Star Wars film.
Yet, when production is actually going to start, we are plagued with all these other troubles we previously spoke about. So, that like you said, have the potential to play into this. So,
in typical Disney fashion, they'll just sweep those under the rug, continue on.
Exactly.
What characters?
Right.
Yeah. Do we have any scenes of Grief Karga and the Mandalorian passing the dark saber back and forth?
Oh, stop it!
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying.
Oh man, don't. That thought actually makes my brain hurt a little bit.
Hey, you know why I said it? Because it makes the perfect case for recasting.
Yes, you're right.
Tell their story. Tell it well. Pay them tribute.
Yes.
By giving their character that they poured their soul into a proper story.
Right. Couldn't agree more.
So with that, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. At The Wars and More on X,
Hey.
Facebook.com/The Wars and More. You can find that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think we beat this one to death. Yeah.
All right. We'll talk next week.